And back to one of our leading stories now. Our SABC News team caught up with South African medical students to talk about their adoptive country and what they have learned in their home away from home. One such person is fifth-year medical student Rantshebo Thoabala from the Free State.
I'm here as a medical student. About 5 years ago, our premier in the Free State, had started the initiative to start sending students here, responding to the shortage of doctors that we have in the province. So I was one of the students that were privileged to have come to study medicine in Cuba, to go back and serve my community in the Free State province.
Cuba, how can you describe the country itself?
Cuba is a very united country where the embodiment of what is communism is here. People here are at the same level. We see here what we dream for in our own country, where we do not see color. People here are mixed. There is no black, there is no white, and much more. Recently at home we had a student march against university fees. Here in Cuba, the population has free access to health, to education, and these are things that we want to see in our country, and Cuba has, if anything, achieved in this regard.
When you look at the struggle of Cuba in South Africa, what's your observation? Are they similar?
The struggle of Cuba and the struggle of South Africa, in my observation, I would say that in some aspects the struggle is similar. It's similar in the sense that you see in Fidel Castro what we see in Nelson Mandela, who had fought for the liberation of many countries, not just Cuba, but also to preserve ideologies that belong to the Latin American people. Just as Nelson Mandela stood for what we knew to be right for South Africa, wanting freedom both for the black and white people of our country. And in my view, I say Cuba and South Africa are pretty much the same. It's just here people have a different way of life. Here, governments are what do legislature, decision making, but also inclusive of people at the grassroots. And this is also what happens at home, and I don't really see much of a difference in this sense.
But the critics are likely to say that there's no democracy. How would you respond to those views?
Yes, pretty much because we in South Africa, we are more free to express ourselves, even so against our own government, or rather not against to raise our opinion about how things are. Here in Cuba you find that people are more limited in this regard, where they can only express to a certain extent following certain established protocols. But I think it's more of the respect that the Cuban people have for their authorities. I think it's something that there is nothing wrong with how we present our opinions as South Africans, but we will do what we do with respect of those that are in authority.
For those students who are studying here, some do experience problems. How do you deal with all the challenges you face, you being away from home?
Being away from home as South African students in Cuba, but not just us, other students from Africa, other countries in Africa, addressing the problems that we have as students. The biggest one being that of demotivation. Students are far from home, missing their family. We have found to form organizations to initiate such societies where as students we try to be there encouraging each other towards what brings us here or what we have as a common goal. to become medical doctors, responding to the needs, the particular needs that our communities have, our people who do not have access to the private higher healthcare services that exist in our different countries. And our dream that we have in common is we want to see health as a commodity that is affordable to both the rich and the poor person in the different countries that we come from.
Since the passing on of Fidel Castro, how has the population responded to his passing on?
Like I said, Fidel Castro here is a very respected president. Not just that, he's seen as a figure that is a model for young people to look up to. He's seen as a father. He's seen involved in all the different arenas that are in sports. He's a figure that motivates Cuban athletes to perform and excel in whatever they do. In the health sector, Fidel Castro is a doctor who takes part participating in initiatives that prevent disease from eradicating. And when disease eradicates, he is also a figure that participates in seeing to it that diseases are eradicated, never more to be seen. But even also in education, Fidel Castro is the teacher there, taking part in seeing to it that mathematics, science, these basic sciences that we need for us to develop our country are received by all people. This is the view that we must say that if there is anything we want to take back home, this is what we want to take back home. Medical education must reach our communities. Our people are sick, not because of any other problems, but them not being informed about the basic risk factors that they can avoid and do away with. And these are things that are embodied here in Cuba that we want to take back with at home.
You had to learn Spanish as well, the language here. Indeed, you are fluent in communicating. If you were to speak to Castro in the language, the local language, based on what he has done, what would you say?
If I would have to stick to Fidel Castro, must I say it in Spanish? No. Iba a decir que jefe comandante, para su apoyo en la liberación de países africanos, sobre todo para su enseñanza, su ejemplo, para nosotros seguir, ver que la idea, o sea, un sueño que tiene uno, será posible con la determinación de uno. Y también será posible cuando involucramos al pueblo como para trabajar juntos para lograr las cosas que tenemos en común.
Can you share with us?
Well, that is to say that, Fidel Castro, if anything, we appreciate your example. We appreciate your leadership that is today guide for us. Much more, we appreciate that you have shown it to us in example that dreams are things that we must nurture, and we must not stop at anything, but our dreams must be to the benefit of the people that we serve. Our dreams must not be those that benefit individuals, but that serve to be positive for a large crowd of people.
Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.